Alrighty, welcome back to the official podcast of Lancaster Public Library, Checked Out. It's me, Theodore.
And Amanda.
And we're here to join you again for our third episode, right?
Yep.
In as many months. And for us, it was just recently Thanksgiving, so this is the December episode. Mm-hmm. But of course, we try to film a few weeks in advance, although sometimes that doesn't
Plans
always
go awry,
map out. And I think we're both kind of in the holiday spirit at this point. I think we both celebrate Christmas. And so one of the segments today that we wanted to focus on was, of course, because Amanda made the list of short stories that we might look at, a miserable short story.
I knew we'd have to preface our discussion with that. I mean, I did have some happier ones on there, but we both have kind of sad literature taste, and we ended up going with a short story that is a little bit on the sadder side.
Exactly. So. But it's really good, and it was my first time reading this author, so highly recommend it. But besides that, we're going to start off, as always, with our What Are We Reading Now? Then we'll have a little buddy talk about this book, short story, and then we'll end with a little segment that will be unique to this episode, which is choosing presents for each other, if you will, out of books that we've read and that we know that we enjoy, that we think our co-host will enjoy as well.
Yeah, I mean, reading recs are part of the job, but they're just also one of our favorite activities in general, I think. So we thought it was a perfect opportunity to disguise it as gifts and just give more reading recs.
Exactly. It's kind of like we do a thing here. It's called a grab bag. And it's honestly, it's such a simple thing. Like, you let us know what you like, what kind of books you read, or even just certain genres, a vibe. And then we find 3 to 5 books for you and we put them on hold for you. And I think this is kind of an extension of that, but just between the two of us. Yeah. And it's such a simple thing, but it's honestly, for me at least, one of my favorite parts.
Much fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what are you reading right now?
Looping back to current reads, though. Yeah. As usual, sound like a broken record now, but I have multiple books going at once. My fiction book for the month is The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. I have not read any Whitehead before, but now I can see why he's won multiple Pulitzers and National Book Award. And I mean, it is an intense read. If you're looking for something lighthearted, this is not the way to go. It's about a young black man in 1960s Southern United States that he's, wrongfully convicted of a crime and sent to a boys' reform school. That this is based on real events. This is a school that was just shut down a little over 10 years ago. Yes. Okay. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through now. Like I said, intense read, but a good one. It feels like an important story. Yeah. And I am enjoying it, despite it being sad. He's a beautiful writer, and I really enjoy his storytelling.
So it's good fiction and you're learning something, which I feel like is fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, what a combination.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very nice.
And then nonfiction. Also learning something. And this is about one of my favorite movements to study, but this is The Blue Stockings by Susanna Gibson. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Blue Stocking movement before.
I have not.
Okay. This is 18th century, particularly spearheaded by a woman named Elizabeth Montagu. But this is the point in history when women being well-educated and intellectual is not just frowned upon, but hurts your chances of survival in social circles and finding a good marriage. And it's just something that's going to honestly make you discriminated against if you're too educated as a woman. But Elizabeth in particular is passionate about women being educated and giving them an avenue to have intellectual conversations. She opened up salons that sparked this whole blue stocking movement. and gave women the opportunity to have those discussions about current events and the arts and politics. And I'm really liking it so far. I'm just noticing that my bookmark has escaped, so I'm going to have to find my place again. But
fair enough. Roughly how far in were you?
Right, about a third. So okay. I'm sure I'll recover.
Fine. Yeah.
What about you? What are you reading right now?
So right now I am reading Your Shadow Half Remains by Sunny Moraine. And my bookmark is a Pokemon card. My wife always makes fun of me because they're just randomly around the house. This book was actually recommended to me by my sister. Her name is Gabrielle, shout out, because we were talking about Lovecraft a few months ago. She is someone who was not much of a reader when she was younger, but as she's gotten older, has gotten into it. And she recommended this book based on, not because it's at all the same as a Lovecraft short story, but because the vibes, if you will, are kind of similar. And so I recently started this because we were supposed to film last week. I actually was reading a different book, but now I'm on to this one. Again, schedule's always in flux at a nonprofit. But the premise of this is actually it's a pandemic that has broken out, and the virus itself is caused by looking in someone's eyes, or at least up to this point, that seems to be what is happening. So most people have left cities. They don't go shopping. So like any supplies, any groceries, things like that are always delivered by drones. And it is a little on the nose. It came out last year. You can tell she was influenced by the actual pandemic.
Just explosion of pandemic fiction that we're seeing.
Tons of it. And it's not something that I would normally pick up. I mean, again, it's definitely like, it's kind of horror adjacent because it's a bit violent at times, which tracks for my sister recommending it. But it's actually a pretty good story so far. The writing is actually quite good as well, except for one massive drawback, and it's kind of an odd one, but the author, Sunny, occasionally interjects just random cuss words from the character that do not sound like the voice of the character at all. It's like trying to add a slight bit of edginess to the dialogue or to like the inner monologue of the character, and it doesn't quite work. And it's jarring, especially because the writing actually is pretty good, and the plot's pretty decent as well. So yeah, if you're writing, don't do that. I don't mind cussing. That's not an issue. But if the character doesn't sound like they would talk like that, leave it out.
It sounds like one of those books that you come across occasionally that you wonder who the editor was.
Yes.
And did they not have the same reaction that readers might of this feels out of place, this feels like a first draft or like a teenager wrote it?
Kind of. Well, honestly, I hate to say this because I am a millennial, but I make fun of my generation a lot. It reads like a millennial wrote it.
The millennial cringe is there.
It's there, and it hurts a little bit. It's not for me, but what is keeping me going is the fact that the rest of the writing, again, quite good. Plot's interesting. I like the idea of, looking into someone's eyes, making you go absolutely murderously insane. That's kind of odd. But yeah, it's been a good read so far.
Yeah. Sounds interesting. Also, just as a side note, love you talking about how the millennial cringe is intense in that book when you just talked about using a Pokemon card as your bookmark. So,
I mean, it's holographic. That's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
So that's what I'm on right now. And I need to do something after this that is not at all post-apocalyptic or horror, because I feel like I've just been doing that nonstop.
I was gonna say, you just read Station 11 the other month.
Harlan Ellison, I have no eyes and I must scream. Yes, I have no mouth and I must scream. So I'm on a kick, so I need to change that. But I did just pick up a new book from our shelf that is not at all like this, and so I think that'll change things up. I was apparently in a mood. So
nice.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Well, speaking of mood, then
transitioning
into our discussion for the day.
Yes.
I feel like that's a perfect segue.
I think it is, because it is a mood.
We already stressed how moody and sad it is.
Yes.
we decided to talk about The Dead, which is the last short story in James Joyce's collection, Dubliners. If you've heard of James Joyce, it's probably from Ulysses, the tome that I have committed to never tackling just out of spite from all the English professors and things over the years that said, just power through it. It will change your life.
Yeah.
I've loved every part of Dubliners that I've read, but just on principle, not reading Ulysses.
Well, this was kind of interesting for me because like I was an English major as well. And I, as far as I remember, have not read any James Joyce. Maybe I did at one point and it just kind of flew under my radar. But this is, as far as I know, the first time I've read anything. And I adored it. I love the writing style. I loved how short and succinct so many statements were. It's not extremely wordy. It's kind of, and I've read a few other Irish novels, and I think it's kind of a style, in and of itself.
Yeah, it's a country that just seems to crank out the most beautiful writing.
Absolutely.
And that absolutely applies to this story. Yeah, for sure.
No, it's fantastic. But there's definitely, an elephant in the room in that it's not necessarily a happy story.
When you have a holiday episode and you say, let's choose a holiday or winter themed short story, and then you gravitate towards one that the title is literally The Dead, you know that you're dealing with people that like depressing literature.
Exactly. Well, and for me, when you sent me the list, I was like, well, it looks like T.S. Eliot said this is like the best short story ever written, so we got to go with that. So it's kind of one of the reasons I landed on it personally.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So there's, I think, a lot of elements of this story that kind of carry on throughout the text. It's not necessarily plot heavy. It's very character driven, which I kind of really enjoy. I've come to like that more as I've gotten older. When I was younger, that was not my style. I wanted heavy plot, heavy world building. Now, not so much. But I think the first thing that when we had talked a little bit about this that came up was this idea of nationalism and like love of country, love of, in this case, Ireland, versus how education can impact that, make you a bit more globally minded, and you lose some of the culture because of that. How did you kind of tackle with that as you were reading?
Yeah, we have a really interesting setting for that. The story, if you're not familiar with the basic plot, is taking place at a holiday party to start. The main character, Gabriel, arrives with his wife, Greta, and I feel like that's the perfect setting for that topic because 100%. At a party like that, it's bringing together people of different backgrounds and generations and political views, and it creates this like microcosm of the nation or humanity as a whole at that time. So it's that perfect backdrop for the idea of globalization versus holding on to your values. Yeah. We see that the whole time with Gabriel as a character, how he's just so resistant to holding on to tradition and yet holds it up in a way, admiring it in other people. Did you?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, he holds it up in other people. It's very much like a focus of his and kind of this appreciation of individuals who act like that. But I think that even just ties into how uncertain he seems to be of himself, how unsure he seems to be of himself throughout. Everything seems kind of manufactured with him.
Manufactured. He's very insecure, uncertain of what he should do and how he should act because he's not living authentically. It's all about appearances.
Yeah. Absolutely. Even, early on in the story when he at this party at his aunt's house, he is going to give a speech at dinner after they eat, and he's thinking about what he wants to say, the topics, which are, of course, one of them being sad memories because, it's an Irish short story. And he gets to a point where he's thinking about a poem that he wants to read, and he's concerned that this crowd, which, by the way, is still a relatively wealthy crowd, still a relatively educated crowd, just won't necessarily not even understand it, but may look down on him for bringing in this kind of headier, more of a global kind of idea, as opposed to focusing on like, maybe an old piece of folklore or something like that. He's so worried about just being himself and speaking from the heart at this dinner speech, which is mostly with family and friends. It doesn't sound like there's anyone there that he doesn't at least know of. And yet he's so constantly obsessed with how he looks, how he acts, and how they perceive him.
Yeah. And it's to everyone's detriment, because then it causes friction between him and other party guests. Yep. I was about to say unnecessarily, but all of that's leading up to the epiphany that he has later. The importance of meaningful moments in life, rather than, I think that he does have that switch eventually.
I think he does.
Realizing what is significant and what isn't.
Exactly. And I mean, I didn't personally relate to this story, but I had spent some time over in Wales, and this is a huge topic over there as well. Like this idea of losing national identity, because they have so many people who are coming in just from mainland England, to buy vacation homes and things like that. And so I kind of personally throughout understood, especially Miss Ivers, her perspective on, why don't you take a trip to go see parts of Ireland? Why do you want to go to, I think, Germany he was thinking of going to? Like, again, that is small-minded thinking. I think some people would perceive it that way, but I also understand just, this place that raised you, this place that brought you up and gave you these opportunities, and kind of having an appreciation for that, which it seems like he has a hard time kind of coming to terms with at points. Although you are right, by the end he does kind of have an epiphany with that, with his wife, with a lot of other things. This
story, even though we can't relate to specifically the Irish citizen, I think that it is a universal theme in a sense of, even if you're talking about where you grew up versus where you settle down in adulthood, or what is the balance of maintaining pride for where you come from and appreciating it for all of its strengths and weaknesses, and balancing that with new places that you've discovered, new places to call home, new things that you're proud of. And a lot of that surfaces around family gatherings and holidays. And I think that it's especially appropriate to talk about that right now.
I agree. We read it before the Thanksgiving holiday, but it was actually in the back of my mind when I went back home to Scranton and saw family and, some friends in the area. And it's like, that's not a place that I want to live as an adult, but there is something to be said for kind of looking back at the good times there and the good aspects of it, as an adult now, instead of being so extremely dismissive like I was when I was younger, like he was earlier in the story. I think it's an important story, and I think it is kind of appropriate for right now, because I think a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of the reminiscing, a lot of the coming to terms with change in their hometown, change in their families. And I really enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah. And again, I think that that's why the setting for processing these thoughts is so brilliant, of having it at a party, at a holiday, that those expectations of the way you think things should be, or the glow of good memories cast over something. Sometimes when you're at those family gatherings or back in your hometown, you're confronted by reality in the way that Gabriel is.
Exactly.
He's with the other party guests and thinking about his speech the whole time. And I think reflecting on that at this time of year, having the story to be thinking about how that applies in our own lives. No,
exactly. And it is odd that it is a time of year thing. Like I'm sure it might be the same thing for you. Like if you go back home and you see old family and friends in the summer, you're not in a reflective state of mind. Like, it's just not like, like even if you're just hanging out and, you're having a gathering just like you would in the winter, it's just, I don't know if it's just the early nights, the lack of sun, seasonal depression. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely I just feel much more introspective this time of year. And I think it's also because you probably start to focus on people who aren't there anymore.
Yeah. Big life events that become this marker of time, of when you're gathering again for an important holiday, that it comes around every year, and you start to, just like at the end of the story with Gabriel, you're reflecting on how fleeting everything is and evaluating what's important, and realizing that with everything being temporary, you've got to hold on to the good things while they're here.
Exactly. I mean, I will say his path there is a little odd, especially, although I think so many times, I feel like we've said this so many times in the first 3 months doing this, it could be a time period thing, but especially like, I don't know how he approaches and views his wife, because that is a huge part of the ending.
We start getting into the gender and class discussion for this story, we'll be here longer than the time we've allotted for the episode.
Genuinely. But I mean, his mom called her, what did she call her? I think it was country cute. He makes a comment at one point about a friend of hers. She mentions a friend of hers that had passed away, that it sounds like they may have dated or something like that, or at least gone on walks together. And as he's looking at her, he mentions that, the face he's seeing is not the beautiful face that this young boy may have seen. It's odd. I get it. It's fine to have those thoughts as well, but it's always interesting seeing them on a page, like, oh, you wrote this out.
Yeah. And his contradictions too, in his character of holding the aunts who are hosting the party up on a pedestal for them carrying on the tradition of Irish hospitality, but then calling them like two foolish old women or something like that, just pages later in the story. It's
bizarre. I mean, it's human. I will say, I think that's part of why I really enjoyed the writing, was that it is kind of brutally honest. And some people are like that. I don't think everyone is, but some people contain multitudes for good or bad. And I think our lead character definitely did. But yeah, he just seems unhappy in general. Yeah.
Normalize disliking the protagonist of the story, right?
Oh, 100%. There's a lot of books that I love. That's what's going on
with Gabriel.
That I almost love because I don't like the protagonist. And this short story, I think, is a prime example of that. I don't really like Gabriel at all, but he's interesting at least.
Yeah, it's those difficult characters that feel like they reflect life better and make you confront things in yourself and the world around you, make you analyze the story more than you would just with a likable Hallmark movie moment character that's just perfect the whole way through. And
that's the thing. Like, I don't want to be friends with him, but I feel like he would tell me the truth, depending on his mood.
Or would he? Would he overanalyze it to figure out what quote to use when he's talking to you?
Probably. And I guess that's where the education issue, if you will, at times could come in for him as a character, where he just can't just be honest, be straightforward sometimes.
Yeah. His verges into a weird, like, I don't know, sexist territory, but I do on some level relate to the social anxiety of overanalyzing everything I'm saying to people. So at least I can appreciate his character for that.
That's fair. I think that's where I didn't relate, because I think my brain just turns off in social situations.
Oh, really?
And I just plow ahead. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, all right, we're done.
Is that the Scranton? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it could be. Yeah. But I think that's a way of coping too, though, is just kind of like almost treating it like work, like put your head down, let's do this, So I think it's, all different kinds of coping skills. But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. And maybe I'll have to revisit more of Joyce eventually.
I think I do, especially Dubliners at least. I don't know if I'll go and tackle Ulysses now, but
that's like years down the road when we decide to end the podcast. That's the last buddy read we'll ever do.
It'll be like a 6-hour episode. No, I'm
not going to put that on air. We're not committing to that.
Good Lord. Yeah. All right. Yeah. But good. Yeah. I definitely, for me, I agree. I'm going to read more. I'm kind of pleasantly surprised, actually. And I'm happy we chose that one, because I feel like there was a lot of depth to it. Feel good things are great, but there was a lot to reflect on there. So
my word. Yeah. So much to reflect on. We barely scratched the surface. The story and discussion here, I'd encourage you to go read it.
Absolutely.
It's an interesting read. And again, just beautiful writing.
Yeah. And it's on Libby. So
right. Yeah.
Go grab it right on Libby.
Honestly, in the public domain. So you can get it on Libby. You can get it in hard copy, Project Gutenberg, wherever you want to read it. So yeah.
It's not piracy in that case. So.
Right. Yeah. that is a PDF we can encourage you to use.
One of the few. Yeah. All right. So with that said, I think we also have a few books that we wanted to talk about for each other.
Yeah.
Again, in the spirit of gift giving. Exactly. Yeah. This is a big time of year, I think, for both of us. We celebrate Christmas. But we also didn't want to necessarily make it all about that, but we wanted to incorporate a little aspect, and that's the gift giving. And I think we've known each other well enough at this point to have an idea maybe of what the other one might like, but I am curious to see where that lands.
Some of our reading tastes, at least. There's a little bit of overlap. I think we have some that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you got?
Oh, okay. I'm going first. All right. So this is my stack for you.
Okay.
If you want to.
Oh, okay.
Undo the bow that each of us were talking beforehand about how we struggled to tie pretty bows. So I'm glad it's not close-ups with the camera.
Yes. Yeah. We don't have to worry about that. That's what. All right. So Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss.
Yes.
I like this cover a ton already.
So I don't want to call it a theme.
Okay.
But I kind of have a common thread in the reads that I picked for you in one way or another.
Yeah.
We've talked pretty extensively about how much we love Claire Keegan and Irish authors in general.
Yes.
Now, Sarah Moss is an English author, but I do feel like Ghost Wall kind of falls into the Claire Keegan category of beautiful writing and kind of I don't want to call it a slow plot, but it is a slow burn in a sense of it's building. You're thinking, where is this going? Very character focused.
Yeah.
And then just a gut punch in the end.
See, you got to have the gut punch.
Yep.
Why am I here otherwise?
No spoilers, but it has an ending that just leaves you sitting with the book for a moment. Like, what did I just read?
I love that.
Yes.
And it's not even with the title, it's not like supernatural. It is like actual real.
Yes.
Okay, I
real
like that.
people.
Very nice.
Yes.
Okay.
And
like Claire Keegan, more of a novella.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a big fan of novellas. We've talked about that before. I think that there's something about short stories and novellas that cramming that good writing into such a small package, I think is just an art form. And I love to see what writers do with it.
I agree. I've become a bit more into that since reading Claire Keegan. And I do agree. I just feel like it's nonstop at that point. It's almost like this incessant, movement of plot and especially character development because it has to happen pretty quickly. And it takes someone with serious skill to do that over the course of like 90 pages. It's genuinely fantastic. I'm excited to read this one.
Good.
Okay. I like it. I like
Check
it.
one.
Check one. Check one.
Okay.
And
two,
Time of the Child.
Time of the Child. I don't know if we've talked about Niall Williams before.
I don't think we have.
Another Irish author.
Okay.
Now, I will say this one has a happy ending. So that's a departure from the norm for us.
That is a departure.
I still recommend it.
Okay.
You might recognize Niall Williams for his book, This Is Happiness. It's really taken off in the past few years. He's gained a lot more attention. This is, I believe, his most recent book, and it felt like an appropriate pick because it takes place around Christmas.
Perfect.
So that's partially why I chose it. But again, just beautiful writing, beautiful character development that he really takes his time with people and such emotional pictures of the people who live in this small Irish town. It's the same setting that he has for a couple of his other books, but I don't think that you need to have read any other Niall Williams books to have this one make sense.
That sounds fantastic.
I will say too, I don't listen to audiobooks very often. I don't process things.
Same. I'm not good at processing auditorily. It's just not how I work.
But that is one that I did listen to the audiobook on Libby and absolutely loved it. There's something about the pacing and the accent of an Irish actor reading it that it just was part of the experience.
Yeah.
I loved it. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
I read Heartbeat at Peace recently, and I can't remember it's an Irish author as well, and it sounds kind of in a similar wheelhouse, and that did not have a happy ending, but this sounds like it's going to be right up my alley.
I just listened to Old God's Time. I think that's Sebastian Barry.
Okay,
and I'm like, also not a happy ending from an Irish writer. So miracle of miracles, I did find a happier one to include this time.
I mean, I appreciate
I love
that.
it. Stamp of approval.
No,
so.
exactly. That sounds fantastic. Well, I have something to read over Christmas, then. That's great.
Nice.
And then we also wanted to do one children's book, because we have an extensive children's collection here. Fantastic librarians in that section as well. You probably all know Shannon if you're watching this. And what do we have here?
Yeah, so that one is called The Christmas Miracle of Jonathan Toomey. It's by Susan Wojciechowski. And part of the reason for choosing a children's book, in addition to the adult books, we talked about not just the extensive collection that we have in our children's library, but just the memories associated with children's books around Christmas time. This is definitely one that has a lot of good memories for me.
I like the artwork in there too.
Yes, and the illustrations are actually by an Irish illustrator.
Oh, that's
Love
fantastic.
all of PJ Lynch's work. You should
Yeah.
find some more of it if you can. It's just gorgeous.
See, that's a huge blind spot for me, is like anything related to like any children's literature, any picture books, things like that. So I'm excited to check this out.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a sweet little plot.
I like
also
that.
Emotional, but
No, but you need that sometimes. You need that sometimes, especially this time of year. Thank you.
Yeah, of
I
course.
appreciate it. And then, my vibe's a little bit different. So I took this as a little bit of a different opportunity to find pathways from some of the other things that I like to read that maybe Amanda is not into.
Oh, okay.
To bring
You're
her
expanding my palette.
down to the dark side of certain genres. Although the first one on there, not necessarily.
Is it Intimacies by Katie? Is it Kitamura?
It is Kitamura. Okay. Yeah. So I was put onto Katie Kitamura because of her most recent novel, which is Audition, which shares a name with one of my favorite horror movies of all time and novel. It's a Japanese film and novel from the 90s.
I think that was one of the New York Public Library's best books of the year recently, right?
It's fantastic. Okay. But it was this year I read that, and then I read Intimacies immediately after, just because I needed to read more by her. She is, I believe, a creative writing professor at, I think it's NYU, and it shows. Her writing is absolutely brilliant. Intimacies is a bit more straightforward of a plot, but it's extremely character driven. There is a story, there is a reason why you're here, but you're there for the characters. And because of a lot of the things that we've talked about with even the books that you recommended and what we've been reading, I kind of figured even though it's a little bit more like, I don't know, I would describe it as woozy.
Okay.
You just kind of feel confused sometimes as to why these characters are doing what they're doing. How they're described, how they're brought to the page is, I think, the important bit that you're going to digest if you read it. And she really does a great job of making you feel like you've gotten to know the characters by the end of the book. Again, it feels woozy in a sense that their motivations don't make any sense, but I think that's on purpose. She's kind of building a wall, kind of like when you're getting to know someone. And then by the end, it all kind of unfolds. Everyone's very human. Everyone's motivations are natural, if not a little odd at times. And the writing itself is like every line could be a poem. I mean, it is just, I love her work. She only has 3 novels. I haven't read her first one. This is her second. And I adored Intimacies. I read that this year in the summer, and it is fantastic.
Well, I'm excited to check it out. I think that the writing style sounds right up my alley. Love poetic style. And
when I say too that like the plot isn't the point, I mean that it's literally like, it is a woman who is dating a man that she met at a work function and trying to figure out if she should stay where she met him, because she was she moved for work, but she didn't like the city that she was in. She thinks she cares about this gentleman, but that's literally the plot. That's it. There's not a lot happening there, but it's just getting to know the characters that kind of really drew me to her. Her writing is brilliant.
Character-driven works are so exciting, and getting an intimate look at someone's mind is such a special experience that you can get through good writing. So I'm excited to check it out.
And the title, you used the word right. It is not a romance novel. It is not at all a romance novel. It's just very like
a look into her life.
Yeah, and a look into the interactions between human beings and how we form those bonds, and how they sometimes happen in very strange ways, even if it is, organic. So yeah, I love her. Love her.
Wow. Yeah. I will have to give my review later then. Yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Scary Stories to Tell
in the Dark is the best. All right.
So this is our children's book pick.
This is the children's book. Okay. It's in the children's room. And this book, my copy, I don't think exists anymore because I read it so much. I remember one in particular where there was one story in there where there were spiders coming out of every pore on a human. I was like 8 years old and I was like, this is it. This is it. This is who I am.
The horror fan was born.
It was born immediately. So this is a collection of like folk tales that are rewritten and retold for younger children. And honestly, it's way better than it has any right to be. At first glance, it seems like, oh, this is going to be a little kitschy, a little goofy, but no, there is some genuinely great, like, almost Edgar Allan Poe-esque type of stories in there. It is fantastic. It was a huge part of my childhood, which I know is a little odd, especially coming from this kind of stuff, but I don't remember the picture books that I read. Okay. It's kind of a shame. I think my reading journey started a little bit later. And so for me, kids' books start at around here.
Obviously being the child of a children's librarian, my book experience as a kid is going to be different if you didn't grow up in that type of household. But I'm excited to give this a try because I wasn't a Goosebumps kid. I wasn't reading a whole lot of scary literature. But as an adult, even though I'm not what I'd call a horror reader consistently, I love the macabre. I love dark, more gothic literature. So this feels like it will be a good fit for me.
Yeah, it's excited. A lot of fun. Nice, cool.
And then the last one here.
Claire
in the Sun.
Now, it's Claire in the Sun. It is Kazuo Ishiguro, and he is probably my favorite author.
So you love Never Let Me Go.
Never Let Me Go is, if not my favorite book. I mean, that we've talked about this before. Depends on the day. My favorite album, my favorite book. There's like 3 that are in rotation. That's one of them. Never Let Me Go, though, is an absolute masterpiece. But I read Claire in the Sun first. And the reason I picked that one is, one, I mean, he's a Nobel Prize winning author. He's brilliant. 2, if you're not into sci-fi, and you don't have to be into sci-fi, this is one writer that I think you will love regardless. We actually have other people on staff here who do not like sci-fi but have read his stuff, and they kind of feel the same way. There's sci-fi elements, but that's not the focus. We're not writing about, a spaceship or something like that. In this case, it is every wealthy, well-to-do student in this universe has a android that their parents typically pay for, and essentially acts as a friend, a confidant, and a study buddy, a borderline servant, who gets them through like their early years and gives them a leg up on the regular people in the world. However, the whole story is told from the point of view of the android, including up to her dismissal, her use not being needed anymore. And it is one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever read. It's like, why do I care about this? This is an android and like it's a fiction novel. But again, his writing is so brilliant that he really pulls you in and makes you feel this pain of loss of friendship, loss of family, through the lens of like, oh, well, it's an android. And I cannot recommend anything by him enough. Read Ishiguro if you have not. He is just brilliant.
Well, it sounds like a perfect introduction to his work because I've never read any of it. So
that's where I started,
I'll be
actually.
I'll be excited to give it a try. It's one of those things that it is actually on my TBR, and it's been sitting there forever. So this is just the push that I needed to finally read it.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So maybe we'll make a science fiction reader out of you. No.
Maybe. We'll see. Right? At least expand my palette.
Exactly.
Which is something that I'm trying to do a little bit more.
Same. I need to do more of that. But we got the Claire Keegan, so at least we edge that in.
Right. Yeah. Nice.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to read these over the holiday. I hope there's something interesting in there for you as well.
Definitely take at least one home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Add to my ever-growing
stack.
pile. Yep.
Yeah. And I hope that whatever you're celebrating this season, that you have a fantastic time with family, with friends, and some time to read as well. We're open most of this month, although the week of Christmas, in this case, we are closed the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th. So just bear that in mind, but we'll be open earlier that week if you need to pick up any holds or if you need any books, and we'll be here to help you find those as well. So I guess that brings us to the end of this episode.
All for day.
Yeah.
Just remember to check back in to Checked Out next month.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.